guess when I would go to the bars and, you know, have a beer with my friends, and the guys get drunk enough, and they come up, what was it? When I was younger, you're too pretty to be in that wheelchair. And I finally got fed up with that, or heard that enough, and I said, well, if I was ugly, would it be okay? And so I didn't get bothered anymore at that bar. Once I found out that I could still pick up a cute guy and bring him home, I thought I had found my place. But then they don't come back. Except one time this guy was absolutely knocked down, gorgeous. He had black hair and blue eyes and just awesome. But when it was time for him to leave the next day, he didn't leave. And then the next day he didn't leave, and he didn't leave. And then third day, he said, I'm going to go outside for a little bit. And he went over to my neighbors and took some of their medication. And the police knocked on my door looking for somebody, and I said, I think I know who you're talking about. Because we were just on a first name basis. I didn't expect to see him again because he was absolutely gorgeous. Well, he came back and he came in my apartment, escorted by the cops, and he jumped up on the cabinets and was looking for his gloves. He had been somebody that had been in Central State. And they, when it was closed, they just pitched people out. And there were no services, so this guy was just hanging out in Piccadilly's, which is, it was a store, a shopping center, and it had a 2,000 person capacity. That's a big bar. But ultimately I didn't find anybody there. You have to go somewhere where you find like you fit in, and I didn't fit in at any of the other bars. People pitied me, and they'd come by and they'd bend over and pat on me. The only good thing was that they would send me free drinks, which I'm a cheap date now, and 2 drinks and I'm happy. I ended up joining a church, or getting recruited into a church that later I found out was a cult. Not a cult, but a cult. And just like the nursing homes that I got kicked out of the church. They put me in leadership, and just because I'm a cheerleader, my follow-through stinks, but I'll encourage anybody to do anything if I think they can do it or not. Because if you don't do something, you'll never know if you try. If you don't try it. So I'm in the church and met somebody that I wanted to be my roommate, because they always encourage you. No, this church required that you live with someone else in the church. And it sounds fishy, huh? Because you didn't mix with other people in the community. This church was big on recruiting, evangelizing, going out and you're a fisher of men or women or whatever. And whatever you had in common, they liked sending me out because, if she can, live a life and be healthy and be happy and be paralyzed from the neck down, what are you crying about? They used that a lot. That was pretty disgusting. Well, once I caught on to that, I didn't do that anymore. But anybody that had a disability that they met, I would end up having to go and study the Bible with them until, whatever. And if you had anything, if you were a recovering alcoholic, they had somebody that had issues with alcoholism, they would put you with somebody that was a recovering alcoholic. I met a really wonderful woman that I thought was, real godly and studied real hard, and we had a lot in common because I was an athlete. In high school, we did church activities every day of the week, except we had one day, and it was roommate night. You spend the evening with your roommates. And she would lay down at the foot of my bed and just tell me, really cool stories, because she was the secretary to a 4-star general. And that was really pretty cool. And she had gotten out of the Army and worked at a stock brokerage. Just never worked there, but she got a good reference from them. And she confided in me that she had been gay before she joined the church. And, and I'm okay, that's fine. And then on those, there were really sharp people in the church that were recruited, but none of the guys, even though I was in leadership in the church, everybody went out and dated everybody else. Everybody dated anybody, but they wouldn't take it any further than that with me. So, after a few years of being lonely and not understanding things, I started having feelings for my roommate, and that really scared me because she was a woman. I was brought up as a Baptist. Everybody that had been gay or was gay, they sent her to study the Bible with them. And she finally came home one evening and said, I can't lie anymore to them. I can't look at somebody and have them. It really hurts my heart. She said, I can't stand to have someone say, don't worry, I won't hit on you. And she said, I can't lie anymore. This is the way God made me, and that's the way it is. And I said, well, okay, it's all right. It's okay. You're my best friend. She said, I told her that, you're my best friend. I'll never turn my back on you. I don't care what happens. Well, apparently because she left the church, she could, and leadership, somebody in leadership came over, and in about a 10-minute time, they told me that I was no longer welcome in the church because I would not put her out of, it's your choice. You can either have her leave and let a Christian live in your home, or you'll be disfellowshipped. And I'd spent 2 years with all these people. This was 50. There were 700 people in this church, and I had a love for God, and I'm not going to turn my back on my best friend. And I had feelings for my best friend. I even confided it. I confided. Everybody has somebody that you have to confess your sins to. And they said, well, it'll be okay. Those will pass. Well, it didn't pass. And I almost had a nervous breakdown over that. And over being kicked out of the church. Finally, I just, I guess I decided that at this point in time, I will never meet the caliber of man that I deserve. And here's a woman who, she had fallen in love with me, and she wanted to move away because she thought she had offended me by that. And we wrestled with that for a long time. Because I kept saying, no, we can't, no, we can't. She's, yes, we can. Believe it or not, that witch dumped me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm like, okay, that's it. For 2 years, I was fine. I helped my sister-in-law raise my nieces after my brother was no longer in the picture, and I was happy with that. Then my roommate moved in, another roommate moved in, and she put an ad in the paper, and in the Indianapolis Star, lickety split, she met the man of her dreams. They got married within a month. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to place an ad, and somebody placed an ad. The love of my life placed an ad, or read the ad. She said she had never read an ad before. It's not about sex, not anymore, because once you get to a certain age, women just don't give a rat's behind. I mean, it's about being, you fall in love with a person, and it's about intimacy. And I don't mean intimacy and getting naked, and it's someone to, I mean, her favorite thing to do is to sit and watch movies with me and hold my hand. But it's just about intimacy. It's not about sex. So everybody needs love. Everybody deserves it. And you are who you are.